including the early leader. We saw him fade pretty fast, Thomas Robert Nolly. This morning, the women had their chance. The same course with those hills at the first 2 and last 2 miles, the same warm weather, but I guess the question, Frank Shorter, is did the women learn anything from the men?
I think you had to assume that they would take off and be a little more conservative, mainly because today the weather was exactly the same temperature, almost the same humidity. So we had a duplication of yesterday this morning.
And the field for this race, we talked about with the Soviet women who, unlike the men, enjoy great success when they do travel, but the Soviet women were fairly even coming into this race, weren't they?
All the Soviet women were very close together in terms of time, so it was very difficult to handicap anyone. And again, you would think because of that they would maybe watch each other at the start.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the start as we join, along with Frank, Craig Masbach, and Catherine Switzer.
The entire city of Seattle is the venue for this event, the Women's Marathon at the Goodwill Games. The course literally circles the entire city. This is Husky Stadium on the University of Washington campus, and we are getting ready for the start of the Goodwill Games Women's Marathon. Over 900 entries in this all-women's race, including the 8 invited runners. Zoya Ivanova, Barangulova, and Bogacheva from the Soviet Union. Gutierrez, Lewis, and Kindelan from the United States. Catherine Switzer is amidst the runners at the start. She can give us a perspective from down there. Catherine?
Frank, we're just a few minutes away from the starting gun right now, and the energy is really mounting. You know, there are 3 things in particular that make this a very interesting race. One, it is an open competition as well as an invitational. That means any woman can come through and win this race. The second reason is that there are no clear-cut favorites, and that often makes an exciting competition. The third reason, it is a women's-only marathon. In fact, right now, the largest women's-only marathon in the world, and the women, not mixed up with the men, can have a much more tactical competition. Our analyst, Craig Masbach, will be out on the course. Craig?
Thanks, Catherine. The weather will again be a story here at the start of the marathon. Weather at start time, 70 degrees, 78% humidity, winds from the south at 7 miles per hour. We learned yesterday, though, that as the race progresses, it heats up considerably on the race course. Now, the hills are the big story in the early going, as the runners run almost 50% of all the ups and downs of the course in the first 4 miles. If people go out quickly, they'll pay the price later.
And the women are now contemplating those first climbs, Craig, as they get ready. In the center of the screen, number 5, that's Lisa Kindelan from nearby Kirkland, Washington. She's had some time to think about those hills, but not much about the race. She's only known for 4 days that she was going to run. And they're off, and we have to see how conservatively they go out. They can remember the men's race from yesterday, where the runners went out very quickly and paid the price later. We just have to see what they're going to do.
And right in the front, number 7 is Leslie Lewis from Torrance, California, and right alongside of her, the other American entrant, Rosa Gutierrez from San Jose, California.
2 miles in, and the climb is almost over. Ivanova and Bogacheva from the Soviet Union are almost at the top. And 5 miles into the race, they are still running as a team, Catherine.
So Zoya Ivanova, probably the Soviets' premier distance runner, and Irina Bogacheva, probably the heir apparent in Soviet distance running.
Mile 5, just under 6-minute pace.
A very cautious beginning, wisely, after we saw the men's race yesterday and people blowing up.
And at this time, the group behind has also developed. All 3 American women are still in it. And at this point, Zoya Ivanova and Irina Bogacheva, after 6 miles, right along the rowing venue, continue to run as a team, and the American team as well. You can see they are behind, still within sight of the leaders, Leslie Lewis, Lisa Kindelan, and Rosa Gutierrez.
And the rest of the field, Frank, coming through. These women are not joggers. These women are coming here to run a competitive marathon.
But you can see the difference in tempo here. At mile 8, they're just about to go up a steep climb. There's a refreshment station, and the group behind seems to be going even a little bit further back. They are now out of sight of the leaders.
Catching up to them, 2 other people.
And going up a very short hill, which is a test early on in this course at 8 3/4 miles, Ivanova and Bogacheva, number 3 and number 8, running as a team. With the chase pack falling further behind, we'll be back in a moment.
Soviets beginning to open up their lead, and Frank Shorter, when you have 2 runners of that ability on the same team, I assume it makes it much easier for both of them.
It is, and team running is a tradition, particularly with the Soviet runners. Most likely a pack was made before the race, if we are out in front together and are running together, we will go and help each other till a certain point, then it's every woman for himself, and that seems to be what was happening.
And Zoya Ivanova, the 38-year-old school teacher, one of those two Soviets that is leading the way, she's a very determined lady.
And she's very experienced. At one race in the past I saw her, she wasn't doing too well, she was falling back, she took out the pin from her number, actually stuck herself in her leg, I guess to wake herself up. This lady's determined.
As if a marathon wasn't enough
Right.
pain. Okay, so let's take it back. We pick it up just after the 9-mile mark.
This is the next goal of these marathon runners, downtown Seattle, as the leaders continue to run in tandem.
And the second pack headed up by Lisa Kindelan in the front, and on the right, that's Barangulova from the Soviet Union and Zuyeva in the blue. They go into the water station and
oh, collision! Look at that.
Zuyeva goes out first. Barangulova now has to play catch up.
It doesn't look like she's hurt, though, and at mile 10, the leaders still are Ivanova and Bogacheva as they make the turns, many turns in this course, which is an advantage if you're out front, and they head for downtown Seattle.
Third place, Ramilya Barangulova. This is her 5th marathon in 5 months.
And now that she's broken away, she has to build her lead and try to catch those leaders. Coming up on the halfway point at the Kingdome, 13.1 miles into this race. And here we have Bogacheva, who got a little lead at a water station over Ivanova, but Ivanova has caught back up.
I think Ivanova is just trying to get water there and get it down.
They have a good view of the Kingdome. They know this is 13.1 miles, and halfway, 1:17:52. So, Catherine, they're on a relatively slow marathon pace, but understandable in this heat. And here is why she had to catch up.
As you see, Ivanova on the left, looking for her water.
Seems to me she wanted to be sure that she got it. She was looking for something on that table, didn't see it, and then went on and decided she would take some water. And there must have been something critical at this stage, because she then grabbed her water and slowed down to make sure she drank it.
Bogacheva grabbed hers quickly, changed hands, drank some, splashed herself, and got herself a little bit of a lead on Ivanova.
15 miles into the marathon, and Ivanova and Bogacheva continue to run as a team. This was the point where yesterday in the men's race, things began to happen.
You have to think of Ivanova practically as the queen of glasnost in distance running. She's come over to the United States, she's run Boston, she has run New York, and she's won Los Angeles.
So Ivanova in the red and Bogacheva in the blue top, red shorts, running down along the waterfront of Seattle. If they were to look out to the left, they could see Puget Sound, but their eyes are straight ahead. And at this point, they're lucky. No wind, just increasing temperature.
And this is Ramilya Barangulova now in a solid third. She's a Tartar, and she won the Soviet National Championships Marathon this year to get a place here at the Goodwill Games.
And her strategy is usually to lay back and come from behind. In these conditions on this course, very smart. But here is Ivanova taking water, something very unusual that she does. She spits it out. She doesn't swallow much of it. It seems like she dumps it on her head, takes it out of the cup, but every time we have seen her, she hasn't really swallowed. Look at that. She's spitting out again. Craig Masback can give us a feel for what it's like to be out there today.
Barangulova of the Soviet Union now has a 45-second lead over Lisa Kindelan of the United States as we just went by the 25-kilometer mark. The interesting thing as we now break into the sunny area of the waterfront is the sun hasn't been a factor so far on the course. Although the sun was shrouded by clouds early on in the race, they've run in a lot of shaded bits as they've come along the more industrial areas of the course. Heat may be a factor in the last part of the race. So far, it hasn't been.
Temperature 70 degrees, not as bad as it was yesterday, Frank, and not as bad as we thought it was going to be today.
So the women are a little bit luckier. This is the grain elevator in Myrtle Edwards Park, heading up Puget Sound towards the 20-mile point. Here they're at mile 17, 5:55 pace. So they sped up a little bit, and at this point, Ivanova seems to be running a little bit ahead of Bogacheva.
And Ramilya Barangulova, 1 minute 55 seconds behind. You can see as she approaches the grain elevator and the distance between her and the leaders.
Lisa Kindelan, 3 minutes and 36 seconds behind at this point. She still has a chance for a medal. And here are the leaders. Zoya Ivanova Irina Bogacheva approaching another water station just before they're going to exit the park and head up that long, truly boring straight stretch to the 20-mile point. And here Ivanova grabs a special bottle. Up until now, she's been grabbing water cups. This is the first special bottle I have seen her grab, and she is taking off, Catherine.
And Bogacheva does not have a special bottle. This may not be a strategic place for her.
This could be the breakaway.
We are back with the women's marathon coverage in the 1990 Goodwill Games. Hannah Storm, Frank Shorter, Zoya Ivanova of the Soviet Union running away with the race, or about to, I guess. Ivanova won the Los Angeles Marathon in March, and to reward herself, this is a great story, she bought a Mercedes, but the parts are very difficult to get hold of in the Soviet Union. She did manage to get hold of an owner's manual, I guess, and a few parts that she'll be picking up.
She has gotten a hold of them through some people she knows in Boston, and they are going to deliver them here because she won this car actually in a race and then got it home, and it got to the point where she couldn't service it or get parts. So now not only is she going to go home with a championship here, she'll now be able to drive her car in celebration.
And I guess just like a car, after a certain amount of years of running, a marathoner breaks down. She's 38 years old, but Ivanova hasn't been running that long, has she?
Interesting point. She started out as a cross-country ski racer, and then 10 years ago when the Soviets began their marathon program for women, when it became an Olympic event, she started to run. So even though she's 38, she hasn't had the pounding of a 38-year-old runner.
And at this point, we are looking for her to make her move as we rejoin our coverage of the marathon.
Approaching the 20-mile mark in this women's marathon, and Zoya Ivanova is lengthening her lead. She's run a series of sub-6-minute miles, and she seems to be making her push for home.
She certainly has, Frank, and she's been doing a lot of that uphill and in the heat, and it's very conclusive. When another runner sees that happening, it's for sure.
She has to push very hard right now because Bogacheva in second place is not that far behind, only 18 seconds at this point, but it seems like her tempo is slowing down just a little bit. She really has to get back with her, and here is third place.
Ramilya Barangulova, a strong, strong finisher. She's having a good race considering this is her 5th race in 5 months, and she is really a powerful runner.
The Ballard Bridge at the Ship Canal, the 20-mile point. To recap, Leslie Lewis led the race for the first mile, but Ivanova and Bogacheva took command. Ivanova broke away at 17. Craig is with the first American.
Just past the 20-mile mark on the Ballard Bridge, Lisa Kindelan is now 2.5 minutes behind the bronze medal position. The easy stride from early in the race has broken down, and she was even hobbling a bit as she came onto the bridge.
But Lisa Kindelan is having a tremendous race, Frank Shorter. She just ran a National Championships marathon only a month ago.
Downtown Seattle is behind them now. The marathon runners are heading for the finish line. Zoya Ivanova continues to maintain a 6-minute pace, and she's consistent at every water station. When she takes the cup, she takes a drink, she spits it out. Let's see if she spits it out. And then continues to run. I don't know why she's spitting out water, but it's working. Zoya Ivanova.
Increasingly putting on distance between her and Bogacheva.
If nothing happens in these last few hills, Zoya Ivanova will cruise to victory in this women's marathon, and you have to think that she had a lot more in herself today.
The sun continues to come down as we look at third place runner here, Ramilya Barangulova.
And she is headed for the finish line at Husky Stadium. All the people waiting have been told by the announcers who is ahead, and they're all anticipating greeting this woman, Zoya Ivanova, who is going to win the Goodwill Games women's marathon in something under 2 hours and 35 minutes. And the way she did it is significant, Catherine.
That's right. She ran the first half slower and finished fast, Frank. That's the way to run a marathon if you possibly can.
And she was really smiling during the last mile. She continues to smile, stops her watch. She wants to know her time. A very easy victory for Zoya Ivanova. 2 hours, 34 minutes, and 37 seconds unofficially.
She's won 10 of 21 marathons now in her career. And second place, Irina Bogacheva, 29 years old, from Leningrad in the Soviet Union, adding a terrific second place victory to good performances in London, Tokyo, and even Cleveland, Ohio.
2 hours, 36:24 unofficially. And in third place, Ramilya Barangulova, running a very consistent race, hoping the leaders would falter. They didn't. but she will come in looking very fresh for the bronze medal, unofficially 2 hours, 37 minutes, and 40 seconds.
We're awaiting the first American, and there she is, Lisa Kindelan from nearby Kirkland, Washington. A real standout here. This woman is a pastry chef at a local restaurant. She only had 4 days' notice to get here to this race, and she picks up 4th place. A fantastic performance. First place American, Lisa Kindelan.
And the 6th woman across the line, Nadyzhda Gumarova from the Soviet Union, who won the 1986 Goodwill Games Marathon. She comes back at age 41 in this race. 2:49.13 unofficially. And the final standings in the women's marathon: Zoya Ivanova the gold, Bogacheva the silver, Barangulova the bronze, a sweep in this event for the Soviet Union.
And we are joined now in the studios by our gold medalist, Zoya Ivanova of Alma-Ata. We are told that that is the birthplace of apples, so how appropriate that she wins a gold here in Washington State. She is joined by her interpreter, Tamara Sinkler. Tamara, could you please ask Zoya for us? I realize that she is friends with Irina Bogacheva. Did they decide to run together as a team?
Вы дружите с Ириной Богачевой? Вы решили бежать вместе?
Мы не решали перед стартом, но так получилось во время бега, и темп нас устраивал обоих, и мы вместе бежали.
They decided before the race that they will stick together.
And then she made her breakaway.
Right.
Okay.
Well, at 17 miles, when you decided to make your break, that was one water station where you had a special drink. Other places you were drinking water alone. At 17 miles, you had a special drink. Did you plan to make a break at 17 miles in the race?
На остановке 17 миль вы решили попить воды, а потом вы оторвались от остальных. Вы решили это там сделать?
About 30 kilometers.
Примерно 30 километров.
Да. Ну, дело в том, что я не знала, где именно это произойдет, но по своему состоянию и чувствуя состояние Иры, я уже рассчитывала на то, что я смогу уйти от нее. Но так получилось, что где-то именно в этом вот районе 30 километров это произошло.
She didn't know where it will happen, but she felt at that particular time that she can make her leap.
Did Zoya, did she watch the men's marathon yesterday and learn anything from the way that that race went?
Вы смотрели вчера марафон ребят, мужчин?
К сожалению, нет.
I'm sorry to say no.
Well, she did pretty well. And what about that Mercedes? Has she received the parts for her Mercedes? Will she be able to run her Mercedes when she goes back to the Soviet Union?
Получили ли вы запчасти для Мерседеса-Бенца?
Да, спасибо большое.
Thank you very much.
Does she run as fast as her Mercedes?
Вы бежите так быстро, как ваш Мерседес, да?
Да, не совсем.
Not really. She doesn't run as fast as Mercedes.
Well, since she needs the parts, it seems like she's actually more reliable.
Так как вам нужны запчасти для Мерседеса, кажется, что вы, собственно говоря, бежите более надежнее.
So thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that is our gold medal winner, Zoya Ivanova, 38-year-old school teacher from the Soviet Union.